Time for tonight's rewrite. At last night's Republican presidential debate, the candidates did what presidential candidates always do. They lied.
I've said time and again, Obamacare is bad news. It's unconstitutional. It costs way too much money, $1 trillion. And if I'm president of the United States, I will repeal it for the American people. All right.
I think we're going to win this thing. We're going to repeal it, and I will.
Cut the corporate rate for manufacturing to zero, repeal all regulations affecting manufacturers that cost over $100 million, and replace them with something that's friendly they can work with.
This last Saturday, I was the very first candidate that signed a pledge that said that by a date certain, I will build a double-walled fence with a area of security neutrality in between. I will build that. I will build the fence. I will enforce English as the official language of the United States government. And every person who comes into this country will have to agree that they will not receive taxpayer-subsidized benefits of any American citizen.
Fine.
Thank you.
I will repeal it. I will build it. Presidents can't repeal anything. Presidents can't build anything. To be fair, Democratic candidates for president tell the same kind of lies. The lies that, in effect, imagine a fictional world in which there is no House of Representatives and no United States Senate, a world in which presidents get elected and just do things, instead of the real world where presidents get elected and beg Congress to do things. Presidents must frequently beg the chairman or chairwoman of the House Ways and Means Committee, the chairman of the Senate Finance Committee, as well as the chairman of the Appropriations Committees in both the House and the Senate, because that's where the money is. That's where all the money is. All of the federal government's money, everything that it spends, is under the control of the chairman of those four committees. They control it all. If, like George W. Bush, you are a Republican who is asking those chairmen for a tax cut, the politically easiest thing for any politician, Democrat or Republican, to do, it is very likely that they will happily give you some version of your tax cut. And your tax cut will pass both houses with way more than enough votes. If you're Bill Clinton in 1993 and you're asking those chairmen to give you a tax increase after having campaigned on a tax cut, those chairmen, if they happen to be Democrats, which they were, will get that tax cut increase for you, but it will be very hard work, and it will pass, as it did then, by one vote. If you're President Barack Obama and you're asking Congress to increase the top income tax rate and the House Ways and Means Committee chairman is a Republican, there is precisely a 0% chance that you are going to get your wish. We know that Michelle Bachmann will never be president. But if some other Republican is elected president someday and wants to build a double-walled fence that Bachmann dreams of along our southern border, that president will have to go to the House of Representatives and the Senate and beg them to introduce a bill that will do that, that will authorize the building of such a fence. That authorization bill will have to then pass both the House and the Senate. And then no fence will be built unless and until the president can convince the House and the Senate to pass another bill, the bill that appropriates the money to build the fence that Congress has already legally authorized. So the right way to say what Michelle Bachmann lies about on that debate stage is, if I am elected president, I will ask Congress to authorize the building of a fence, and then I will ask Congress to appropriate the money to build the fence that Congress has authorized. Okay. She doesn't have to say it exactly that way with all the legislative process involved, but she does have to acknowledge that it is up to the Congress to authorize the building of the fence and to appropriate the money for building of the fence. And all she can really do is to beg or to cheerlead Congress to do that. Here is the correct way for a president to describe his legislative hopes and dreams.
Congress also needs to address the challenges facing Social Security. I've traveled the country to talk with the American people. They understand that Social Security is headed for serious financial trouble. And they expect their leaders in Washington to address the problem.
I am sending this Congress a plan that you should pass right away. It's called the American Jobs Act. There should be nothing controversial about this piece of legislation. Everything in here is the kind of proposal that's been supported by both Democrats and Republicans, including many who sit here tonight.
President Obama's jobs plan got much farther than President Bush's Social Security plan. President Obama's jobs plan was actually debated and came to a vote in the United States Senate, where it was then blocked by the Republicans. President Bush's Social Security reform plan never came to a vote in the Senate or the House, not on the floor or even in a committee. President Bush's plan never even received a hearing in the House or the Senate. The Republican-controlled House and Senate completely ignored the Republican president's proposal on Social Security. As you watch the rest of the Republican debates and the rest of the presidential campaign, watch like a professional. And remember what the candidates and the media always forget, and what fans of President Obama have had to learn the hard way. The power to govern resides almost entirely in the